The snow melted weeks later, but the ghosts didn't. The ridge where it all happened was silent, except for the wind that carried whispers of unfinished missions. And somewhere deep within that silence, Leon Halden walked alone. He had left the base under nightfall. No orders, no radio. Only a trail of half-buried footprints fading behind him, like everything else he'd ever belonged to. When Sergeant Cade woke, Leon was gone. All that remained was a single folded page on the table beside his rifle case. "They're not finished. If I stay, you'll become a target too. Don't follow the sound, follow the silence. LH." Cade stared at the paper, his throat tightening. Outside, the horizon glowed with morning fog. He whispered to himself, "You're not a ghost, Leon. You're a signal." Days later, deep within a decommissioned communications bunker, a faint encrypted ping hit an old server. Buried under static, 3 words repeated on loop. "Echoes confirm return." The message was traced to an abandoned outpost in the northern mountains, coordinates classified since 1983. A place once used by a covert sniper division called the Silver Eyes. Officially, it didn't exist. Unofficially, it was home to those who were never meant to. Cade watched the satellite feed, blurred, distorted, but unmistakable. A lone figure, white parka, moving with precision through snow and shadow. Leon. Leon reached the outpost by dusk. It was half buried in ice, its walls cracked by time. Inside, frost clung to every wire and weapon mount. But the air felt awake. He placed his glove on the wall, and the metal hummed faintly. A motion sensor flickered to life, triggering an old security system. Screens blinked on, one by one, replaying archived footage, missions, coordinates, names. His own name appeared blurred but legible: Halden, Leon, Project Echo. Under it, status, reinstated. Leon whispered. "They reactivated it." A voice answered from the dark. "Not they. We." From the shadows, a man stepped forward, older, scarred, eyes clouded with frostbite. He wore no insignia, but his wrist bore the same burned owl mark. "Captain Vance?" Leon said quietly. "You were dead." Vance smiled faintly. "We all were. Until you woke us." Leon frowned. "I didn't wake anyone." Vance walked closer, circling him slowly. "You killed the others on the ridge. You finished the signal chain. Every mark we bury, every death, sends a pulse through the network. You completed it." Leon's heartbeat slowed. "Network?" Vance pointed to the glowing wall, dozens of coordinates lighting up in sequence. "They built us to listen to the silence, to see through the snow. You were their best prototype. The one they lost control of." Leon clenched his fist. "They burned us." "Yes," Vance said softly. "And like ash, we rose again." Vance guided him deeper into the outpost. Through frozen corridors filled with flickering monitors and dust-covered rifles. At the end stood a sealed steel door marked with a single phrase. I-0. He pressed his palm against the console. The owl symbol pulsed, scanning both their marks. The door hissed open. Inside, suspended in frost, were rows of cryogenic pods, human shapes inside, motionless. Names etched on glass: R. Cade M. Hensley S. Torres. People Leon had known. Fought beside. Buried. He staggered backward. "They cloned us." Vance nodded. "Echoes of the Silver Eyes. When one falls, another rises. You're not the last. You're the first." Leon stared at his reflection in the glass, pale skin, silver eyes, burned mark. The glass fogged with his breath. "I'm not your echo," he whispered. "I'm what's left when the sound stops." Suddenly, alarms wailed. The pods began to thaw, one by one. Steam rose like ghosts leaving their graves. Vance stepped back, smiling through the mist. "You can't stop it, Leon. You are it." Leon raised his rifle, slow, deliberate, steady. "Maybe," he said. "But even echoes fade." He fired once. The bullet shattered the main console, sparks exploding across the frost. Electric arcs lit the room like a storm trapped in metal. Vance fell backward into the haze, vanishing behind smoke. The pods went dark. Silence returned. Hours later, Cade received one final signal on a dead frequency. It wasn't words this time, just static and faint breathing. Then, a single phrase. Mission returned to silence. The feed cut. He stared at the frozen monitor, knowing what it meant. The mountain had reclaimed its ghosts again. Weeks later, a supply pilot flying over the northern ridge reported seeing something strange. A circular pattern carved perfectly into the snow, wide, precise, deliberate. An owl's eye with wings stretching across the ice field. At its center, a single rifle stuck barrel first in the snow, a wooden disc hanging from its scope by a chain. The inscription read, "For those who listened." The wind howled through the mountain ridge like an ancient breath. Snow drifted in slow spirals, not wild, but deliberate, like it knew something the world had forgotten. Leon Halden knelt near a broken satellite dish buried in frost. His left shoulder was wrapped in torn parka fabric, blood frozen in thin cracks. The wooden disc hung from his glove, swaying softly as if time itself refused to move forward. The dawn was still far. And yet, the horizon glowed faintly, a ghost of sunlight struggling through the blizzard. He adjusted the dish's alignment, metal squealing in protest. A faint hiss of static whispered through his earpiece, and then, a voice. "Cade, radio, faint. Leon, if you can hear this, don't come back. The cleanup team's on its way. You did your part. Please stay off the grid." Leon smiled faintly, tired but warm. His voice carried the weight of a man who had already accepted silence as an old friend. "Leon. You ever listen to snow, Cade? It sounds like memory. Fading, but never really gone." He switched the radio off. Static became silence. Silence became peace. Inside the outpost, the lights flickered one last time. A thin trail of blood led through the frost-coated corridor. It wasn't Leon's. Deep within the shadows, Captain Vance crawled toward a shattered console. His breath fogged the glass. His eyes, pale and broken, locked onto the word flashing on the cracked monitor. Echo complete. He smiled weakly, one last spark of madness on his face. Vance, whispering, "Even echoes, choose who hears them." The red warning lights flickered once more, then died. And the outpost, along with every secret buried beneath its ice, began to collapse inward. Hours later, a distant satellite blinked awake. A tiny pulse, invisible to human eyes, left the mountain and climbed through the clouds. In the command center hundreds of miles away, a technician yawned mid-shift. Then froze. A monitor lit up, showing a single encrypted ping. Analyst. "Sir, we just got a ping from Outpost 0. Commander. That site was decommissioned 30 years ago. You sure it's not a ghost signal?" Analyst. "It's not a signal. It's a message. Written in noise." The commander leaned in. The static began to shape itself, pixel by pixel, until the screen revealed an image of an owl, wings spread wide. Below it, a line of text appeared in Morse. "For those who listened." The storm had broken. Leon stood on the ridge, the sunrise painting gold across the snow. Behind him, the outpost was gone, reduced to a hollow beneath the mountain, steam rising like the breath of something ancient finally exhaling. He knelt in the snow, placed his rifle barrel first into the ice, and set the wooden disc at its base. The chain caught the morning light, glowing faintly against his pale fingers. He traced the carving on the disc with his thumb. "For those who listened." "Leon, softly. Then let the silence remember us." He removed his glove, bare skin against the cold, revealing the burned owl mark on his wrist. The mark shimmered once in the golden light, then faded slowly, like a candle surrendering to dawn. A helicopter passed high above the ridge later that day. Inside, a pilot leaned toward the glass, squinting. "Pilot. Control, are you seeing this?" Below them, an enormous shape had formed across the snow, melted lines forming a perfect owl's eye, wings stretching across hundreds of feet. At its center stood Leon's rifle, upright in the snow. The wooden disc swung gently, catching sunlight like a pulse. The camera zooms slowly, the wind dies, and the world holds its breath. Only the inscription remains visible. For those who listened. Somewhere far from the mountains, in an underground data center thought long abandoned, a single light blinked. An old monitor flickered to life, displaying file retrieval logs. A new file appeared, echo_01. Restored. A faint sound filled the empty room, not static, not speech. Breathing. Slow, rhythmic, human. A pale hand reached from the dark and touched the monitor. The reflection in the glass revealed a pair of silver eyes opening. Some ghosts fade. Others adapt.